Welcome to Acumos AI Day. This is a conference by the Deep Learning Foundation of Linux Foundation. My name is Ruben Klein. I'm on the outreach committee of the Deep Learning group, the Deep Learning project, and Acumos AI is the first sub-project to be going public from the Deep Learning Foundation. So we have a very long program today, a lot of speakers. People were really very kind to join, to offer very interesting content. First of all, I just want to take a minute to thank the organizing committee, which was from AT&T, Larry Uno, and James Klazowski, Chris Valinsky, and Asad Akhtar, who are here, from Amdocs, Ofer Harmoni, who was very helpful, and Rajaram Balasubramanian from Tech Mahindra. And from the Linux Foundation, we had Dan Brown, Jacqueline Serafin, and Scott Nicholas, who is here, helping us put this together. So there was a lot of logistics, but I did want to take a moment to go through that.
Anyway, again, I want to welcome you for joining us today. It will be absolutely an exciting day. I think it's the first Acumos Day that we hold, certainly in the US. There was one that we was held in Europe a few months ago. I'm Mazin Gilbert. I'm also the chair of the Deep Learning Umbrella. So clearly that my interest in Acumos goes beyond just AI and Acumos. I'm interested in really driving a community, an AI community broader than Acumos, to harmonize and drive machine learning broader in the industry. I want to start by showing you a video because I just want to get some statistics out. I thought it would be good just to show a video of what's going on in AI. So if you check the latest Fortune magazine that just came out this month, it actually is dedicated to AI. And there are 25 of the largest businesses that will be impacted and opportunities that will be impacted by AI. It's a good read and has some really good statistics basically to follow. I want to just spend a few minutes telling you why at AT&T we decided to co-create with TechM and Tech Mahindra and start the Acumos project. We've been working on AI for a few decades, as most of you know. It's a lot of the pioneers in AI. Claude Shannon is one of those in the 50s. If you remember the mouse, the maze, the learning maze in the 55, which is really sort of the birth of where AI started. Since then, AT&T never stopped. AT&T Bell Labs never stopped working on AI. In the 80s, I actually joined in the 80s for a summer, and I worked with Patrick Hoffner here on some convolutional neural net. Jan LeCun was here as well. AT&T did a lot of work in speech recognition. And 5-6 years ago, we decided to split that unit out to a company called Interactions. The challenge we had a year or 2 years ago is that we have about 30 to 40 deployments of AI or machine learning in AT&T today, production full scale. The challenge was each one of those was built by a different vendor or built organically by a different team. Each of them required its own lifecycle management, its own support, its own operations team. We could not sustain going from 30, 40 commercial deployment to 400, 4,000 deployments at the rate we were going, at the velocity we were going, and the speed we were going. And hence, really this gave birth to Acumos. Our deployments today is in IoT, in customer care, in entertainment, in cybersecurity, in autonomous network, in equipment inspection. I think none of this is new to any of you. We are in customer care. That is probably the oldest and the most historical place where we apply machine learning and have been. AT&T was the first company to deploy how may I help you system that told customers 20 years ago, and instead of press 1 or say 1, simply customers were calling in and they were greeted by the prompt, how may I help you? And we use natural language processing to figure out how to help this customer and where to route them. This is not new, and today we have several vendors that help us in delivering these applications for chat, for voice, for messaging, etc. Entertainment, certainly a big one for us. We use it for churns. We use it for recommendations. Like I said, there are many of these commercial deployments in AT&T. Every one of them is different. Different technology, different platform, different teams. And really what we're trying to do is to harmonize that, not just in the open source, but within AT&T. We want to make sure that any vendor who works with us is aligned with our strategy and aligned in the sense that what they built is interoperable with each other. And so I want to tell you a little about our strategy, at least at AT&T. We have a 5-pillar strategy. This is how we drive AI inside AT&T. This is what we're doing actively inside AT&T. And I'm sure this is no different than any company that's sitting here. This is probably the same strategy that you guys have, okay? The first one is we have too many of these platforms. We believe in open source. We believe in open interfaces. And everything should be based on open interfaces and open platforms. That's really what's led to Acumos and the deep learning umbrella. Number 2, we're very big on reusability. Most of you know that building machine learning models is very expensive. 80% of the time is data. Worrying about privacy, security of the data. Having a marketplace, just like the App Store, where these models are reusable within AT&T, never mind just the industry, is absolutely very important. We may have built, probably in the history of AT&T, I'm going to guess 50 to 100,000 models. If you ask me today, where are they? It'll be hard for me probably to find 10 or 20 that easily. And that's the problem we're trying to solve, not just for us, for the whole community, if you multiply that by all the companies that's sitting in here. The third one is we don't build everything ourselves. I say 80-20 rule. 80% what we build through partners, 20% we build ourselves where it makes sense. 80-20. But we want to make sure any partner we work with or whatever we build internally ultimately look like Legos. Legos that can be connected with each other. And it's not a one-to-one relationship with a partner. It should be that what we build with a partner, or even organically, is a bunch of Legos that can be connected together to design a project. And you hear a lot more about that, about Acumos today. You can't really talk about AI without talking about privacy, ethics, and principles. we've developed, we have not made this publicly, but every company has pretty much done the same thing. We've developed our own AI ethics that we will share publicly, hopefully shortly. This is sort of our DNA, what we follow, what we have people working on AI. There are a lot of concerns about AI, may not be from the folks in this room, but from people outside this room. And so we have to ensure that we are leveraging using AI at a scale, but in a way that follows certain principles, certain ethics principles. And the last one is skill our employees. We probably have about 500 to 800 data scientists at AT&T who can build AI applications today. They may not have a PhD in AI. Probably only 10% of those have a PhD, but the rest don't. But they know how to build models. They know how to deploy these models, okay? And that's still not enough. Between my organization, the CDO organization, and other organization within ATO and the business, we have a lot of those data scientists. The issue is that what we're targeting is not the data scientists per se. AT&T is about 300,000 employee company, just as one example. Some of your companies here are bigger than us, and some are smaller. What we're really trying to do is to lower that barrier to entry. So even the person sitting in legal may not be a person who can build a model, but that person is dealing with a lot of contractual agreement to do with AI. And they need to understand what AI is and how it's used. Supply chain, same thing. So we've been applying training program inside 18 called the JEDI program to do exactly that. I always go backwards. Yeah, thank you. Eventually I'll figure it out. I want to leave you with a couple more slides. I have a minute left. I mentioned there are a lot of applications. I gave you some verticals of these applications. One of my responsibilities at AT&T is building AI closer to the edge of our network. And that's what my team is working on. This is a picture that the reason I wanted to put this, because you've heard us being part of Acumus, you've heard us talking about something called a Crano in open source and something called ONAP in open source. Well, all these connect with each other. These are not just independent things. We're using ONAP for our instantiation and orchestration of virtual and physical network functions, where you see the wireless and wireline. We're using a Crano as our blueprint for edge cloud. You know, over the next 3 years, you've heard us talking a lot about 5G and how we're going to be exploding the number of applications, edge applications, to really support 5G. 12, we already announced markets in 2018. And basically what you see here is that this is where the edge is. It starts with the customer all the way down to private and public clouds. And you can see where we are positioning AI and Acumus. We're pushing those technologies and AI technologies right at the very edge of our network. Now, there are a lot of applications we're testing out today. And you can imagine this will truly transform VR, AR, and many other applications that latency is critical. Not every AI application requires the latency and the speed, but those who require a few millisecond speed, we're putting at the very edge. So I want to leave you with this slide. Again, thank you very much for coming today. We're very, very excited about being part of the Acumus community. We have a number of companies that I've met today who are partners and contributors to Acumus, and I thank you for that. And expect from us our complete dedication and commitment to Acumus as Acumus basically evolves into the Athena. Did I spell Athena right here? The Athena sort of version in November 2018. So if you're not a member, Scott is here, okay? Scott has already the papers. He's had your information filled out. You just need to sign, and you'll be a member of this community. But I also want to say, even if you're not a member, it doesn't mean you cannot contribute. There's no obligation that you have to be a member to contribute. With that, thank you very much.
Thanks.